Race one of the weekend here at Misano for Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe, and it is the first of two races, both today, that will determine the champions across the four classes that make up the series. David Addison trackside, Marietta Evans down on the grid, and the man on pole position, Loris Spinelli, to start Max Wearing's car in order to try to help Max take the championship away from the pro leaders, Kevin Gialardoni and his co-driver Leonardo Pulcini. Alongside them on the front row, Karol Bash and Andrei Lewandowski. And Andrei Lewandowski effectively now Pro-Am champion, but we've also got Am and Lamborghini Cup up for grabs as well. So there's an awful lot to enjoy, an awful lot to look forward to in terms of points and permutations, never mind the race itself over the next 50 minutes. The championship has already been this year to Italy, started at Monza. It moved to Paul Ricard and then on to Zandvoort for a change. Spa and the Nürburgring, the last two stops. And now, although it was pretty chilly this morning, the sun is out and lots of Lamborghini guests, lots of excited supercar fans trackside too to watch the four races that we have today. Two coming from the North American Championship and two from Europe. We've had Richard Antonucci already claim a win in the first of the American races, and now let's see what happens in the European Championship. Track temperature, 13 degrees. It's still pretty cool, but the drivers with a warmer temperature to cope with than they did at 9:30 this morning in the American race, when it was very chilly indeed, and we had dramas on the first lap. So there is the grid looking down onto it. And, of course, everybody with the same type of car, the Lamborghini Huracan, but then splits because of driver ability and experience across the four classes. When you see the graphics, Pro is in red, Pro-Am blue, the Am category in the yellowy green, and the green for the Lamborghini Cup, which caters for the real gentleman racer, the real inexperienced competitor. And it's good that Lamborghini has always looked after building the grid from the back, looking after the Ams. There's a very good social scene, as well as the off-track hospitality to keep everybody happy as well. Right, let's head to the grid. Loris Spinelli and Max Wearing's car is on pole, and next to it stands Marietta Evans.
And weekend for this team, Loris with Kevin down on fifth row. This is a very opportunity for you to try and help Max take points away from the championship leader.
Yeah, for sure. So we will start in first position, so on first row will be easy for the first corner. It's important as well for me, this championship, to bring home with Max. So let's do, and let's see after the change driver.
And I guess a lot of confidence after the double victory in Nürburgring.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with this car, I have a good confidence. So I mean, I know what you have to do, and I hope I can do better today.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Let's go racing.
And Loris Spinelli, and in fact his co-driver Max Wearing, have already been out racing. Loris Spinelli sits on that grid as a winner already. He won Pro-Am in the first North American race. Max Wearing was in that race as well and got third overall. So the drivers have already been out on track and experiencing what the circuit is like. There is Karol Bash, who is the pro in the Pro-Am car alongside. Now, already, as I say, the championship there effectively sewn up by Andrei Lewandowski, because the only person that could do anything about him in terms of catching him is Karol Bash, but because they're in the same car, it's impossible. So there's only Karol Bash's points tally within range of Lewandowski, but if Bash were to score, well, so would Lewandowski, so it's all academic. So he's the champion in Pro-Am, and Andrei Lewandowski is one of those sort of serial Lamborghini championship winners. You can join the conversation this weekend on Facebook, Lamborghini Squadra Corsa, on Twitter, at Lamborghini SC as well. Right, there is the grid looking down onto it. The last car that is there is Kumar Prabhakaran, the Malaysian driver. We've had a couple of examples this year. He's one of them, of the drivers from Asia, because there's no racing out there. There's no Asian Championship currently because of the dramas of travel and the quarantine regulations in Asia, coming across to Europe to do their racing. Another example, for example, Hoylin Han, and also Oscar Lee sharing with Dan Wells, the Brit who's made a name for himself in Asian racing, and Dan Wells will start their car. Right, green flag lap is underway. We're almost in business then for our first stanza of Europe. Although the cars have raced here before, not this season. The whole idea is to have the final round somewhere that they haven't raced during the course of the season, so that when you get to the World Final on Saturday and Sunday, the European teams don't have a huge advantage. Many of the teams have been here for a good few days testing anyway. But as they cycle through, pole position for this race, Loris Spinelli and Karol Bash lining up with him at the front of the grid, Johan Kran and VS Racing teams respectively. On the second row of the grid, Glenn Van Berlo will start for Target Racing, and Mattia Michelotto in the second of the Vincenzi Sospiri cars lines up alongside. On the third row, Dutch driver Danny Cruz for Bonaldi, and it is Maxime Oesten lining up alongside in the car that he shares with Milan Tikens. Then we have Kiko Galbiati, who's had a Pro-Am win this year, but he's a soloist in Pro here, with Sebastian Balthazar starting 8th, very much an outsider for the Pro Championship. Then the Championship leaders in Pro, Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Pulcini. Gilardoni starts ahead of Dan Wells' car with Oscar Lee as the co-driver. Then newcomer, very impressive, Sebastian Freimuth with Andrea Cola lining up alongside him. Next up, Kevin Rossell and Gabriel Rindoni, the Luxembourg driver for Lippert, out of the AM class, ahead of Davide Valsecchi in the guest car. The GP2 champion lines up with Bronek Formanek alongside him. Then it's Yuri Wagner and another of the newcomers for the weekend, Andrea Tarabini. He will start alongside ahead of Donovan Privitello, son in the father and son car, and another newcomer, Axel Blom, joining Massimo Siglia. Heulin Han is next with Raffaele Giannoni, the uber cool Italian, who you barely ever see without his sunglasses on, and he's a very quick driver in the AM Cup, ahead of Gerhard Watzinger and there Pierre Feligioni, who is here with Daniel Waschinski fighting to win the Lamborghini Cup. Gerard van der Horst from Lamborghini Cup is next with Claude Gosselin, the AM class leader. Next, Petar Matic shares the 14th row with Gregor Moczulski, and then it is Oliver Freimuth lining up alongside Holger Harmsen. The 16th row of the grid, Hans Fabry, who had an off yesterday, and Libor Dvoracek lines up alongside him with Kumar Prabhakaran to round out the grid. So that then is how they are. Good to go for this first European race. 50 minutes, mandatory pit stop, 20 to 30 minutes. If you're on your own, it's 63 seconds of stationary and 143 line to line. If you're a two-driver entry, it is 60 seconds stationary and 140 line to line. So the leading car, the Urus, peels into the pit lane, and the drivers then now concentrate on the lights. Loris Spinelli has one real task: push and build up the lead for Max Wearing to consolidate in the second stint. The only thing that might go against that really is a safety car to whittle the advantage away in the first stint, but the lights are red. If Daniele Galbiati, the race director, is happy, he'll give the indication to flick the switch and we can go racing them. And the race is go. Lights go green. It's blast off. The cars thunder down towards the first corner, and on the inside line, Loris Spinelli then should grab the advantage. He does so as they turn their way right, left, up towards the Rio curve at turn 3. Up the curve there goes Danny Cruz in number 33. Darts up the inside of the traffic, gets ahead of Mattia Michelotto, and he's still on his toes. Look, dive bombs there, the Dutch driver Milan Tikens, but he's gone through. So now as the cars accelerate up towards that back straight for the first time, Loris Spinelli has the advantage. The Polish driver Karol Bash next. That is Dan Wells going through just up ahead of Kevin Gilardoni, and that pushes him one spot down the order as the cars battle their way down towards turn 7. Into Coeccia they go, and a challenge made by Karol Bash on the inside of Loris Spinelli. So he desperately here wants to find a way through on the inside, but he can't do it. The field turning their way then up now through the turn at the top of the lap, through Tramonto, that right-hander that tightens all the way around, and then it's back onto the power, heading down towards Curvoni for the first time. So, up front, Loris Spinelli leads the way. Karol Bash runs second, and then in third place, Glenn Van Berlo, as the cars thunder their way up towards the completion of lap number 1. Also going nicely there, you see, number 10, which is Yuri Wagner, another of the Lippert cars going nicely. Yuri Wagner from the Pro-Am competition as the field accelerates up towards the end of lap 1. And now, look, Spinelli is just starting to edge away a little bit. Sebastian Balthazar goes through number 2, but at the end of lap 1, the leader is Loris Spinelli. And the thought of him taking on Richard Antonucci for the World Final is going to be something pretty special. In second place, Karol Bash, then Van Berlo is third, with Danny Cruz right up behind him. Then it is Maxime Oesten, and behind him, Mattia Michelotto, as they wriggle their way out of turns 2 and 3 for the first time. Dan Wells chasing after Kiko Galbiati a little bit further back as the leaders then head up towards the Rio curve, and out wide goes Van Berlo. Danny Cruz tries to get up the inside of him in the car that he shares with Dan Pale, but he couldn't make a way through there. number 6, Mattia Michelotto. Now he's dropped back effectively from where he qualified. Qualified 4th, he's running 6th. Spinelli led at the end of that one by 8/10 of the second, and another dive to the inside. Daniel Cruz again trying to unsettle his fellow Dutch driver Glenn van Berlo, but he can't find a way by. We've had a huge influx of Dutch drivers into Lamborghini racing over the last few years. Triggered, I guess, in a sense, by Peter Cox many, many moons ago. But I suppose the most recent one of the young guns, if you like, was Jeroen Mul, who we saw in the North America Championship race a little bit earlier on in the day. And Van Berlo there, just ahead of Cruz, who was the champion back in 2019. Going with him then the next Dutch driver, Maxime Ooston, ahead of Michelotto, Balthazar, Galbiati, Wells, and Kevin Gilardoni. He's only 10th, which is not good for the championship. That's 8th in class, but even so, that's putting the pressure on Leonardo Pulcini in the second stint. Race leaders then up towards the end of lap number 2 was there. Yuri Wagner is under huge attack, isn't he? Andrea Kohler positively fizzing behind him in 99. The car that he shares with Dimitri Gavazza there is up towards the completion of lap 2. They come. The leader goes through, and this great battle between Yuri Wagner and Andrea Kohler heads up towards the end of the lap. Kohler for the Target Racing team, and the target very definitely is the Leipert car of Yuri Wagner as they head now down towards turn 1. To the outside line goes Andrea Kohler. That is brave, and it's brave, and it's brave, and it works. Brilliant stuff, but he's going to run a little bit wide into the middle point of turn 2. Just gathers it all up for turn 3, and it works for him. Andrea Kohler then goes through, takes the place, and that therefore is 3rd in Pro-Am, and it's 14th overall. And there is a car possibly with a problem. Now that's Pierre Feligioni, who has dropped a long, long way back, and Feligioni needs to be on his toes here because he's 2nd with Daniel Waszinski in class, and hence needs points from this race in the Lamborghini Cup. Right, Andrea Kohler you're on board with now. 2nd gear out of Quercia up towards Tramonto. So the road, you turn left, and then it tightens left again. But it was a really good effort round the outside. And this is how he did it then. So Andrea Kohler in replay to the outside line of Yuri Wagner. There was the real estate, but he's out wide. You see how he has to fight the car through turn 1 and then through the next left. And he was in danger of running out wide, but he got the job done nicely as Loris Spinelli now, with the fastest lap of the race to his name, starts to pull away. Heads up towards the line. Goes through with an advantage now of 2.3 seconds. So this is looking good for him. Karol Bash 2nd, and his target is to do the best job he can for his co-driver, Andrei Lewandowski, to help him win in Pro-Am. Glenn van Berlo is 3rd, ahead of Cruz, Ooston, Michelotto, Balthazar, Galbiati, Wells, and Gilardoni still not making progress. He's still trapped down in 10th place as the leaders go by. 39, I should say, is Huilin Han, the Chinese driver that's done the bulk of his racing in Europe this year, largely because of the travel drama. So once he's been in Europe, might as well stay, and he was at Paul Ricard to try and do the GT2 races as well. So Huilin Han has had a busy season of European racing, whilst very little has been able to happen back in Asia. So 61, the race leader, Loris Spinelli. This really good news for him and Max Wearing. You get a point for pole position, and it goes to each driver of the car. It's both of them. So Spinelli's pole gave another point to Max Wearing, which is important. And therefore, even though the race 2 point for pole has gone the way of both Gilardoni and Pulcini, the margin remains at 8 points between them. And a win here with Gilardoni only 8th in class, assuming things stay as they are, would certainly help. We've had strife there, look, because off the road, first of all, is 21, which is Gabriel Rindoni, the Luxembourgish driver, and 22 has gone with him, Libor Dvoracek. So the green car from the Leipert team with all the flames spitting out of the back, that looks like it's at Quercia. But Rindoni and Dvoracek off the road. Rindoni is back on. He's had really good pace this year, Gabriel Rindoni, but no luck at all. And Libor Dvoracek is in the middle of the road, and that's not a good place to be, but thankfully he's got it fired up and he's able to move again. So Dvoracek rejoins. And how did all that happen? Well, it was a bit of a hip and shoulder again to Rindoni, and that all came from the Oregon team car of Alessandro Talabini. And then as Rindoni tried to get going, how did Dvoracek arrive on the scene? He appears offline, and I think panics. Oh, he might have got a tap from behind, actually. Yes, he possibly did, from another of the Lamborghini Cup entries. So Gabriel Rindoni, first of all, had to wait, then he had to breathe in and hope nobody hit him, and now he's got going again. And there, Libor Dvoracek, also badly delayed, back into the fray. So the race leader there, Loris Spinelli, hangs on, runs way wide there, doesn't he, coming onto that back straight, coming out of Tramonto. Karel Bash running in second place. Now Glenn Van Berlo is shaking off Danny Cruz just a little. And last time, Van Berlo, there he is, and the Target racing car that he shares with Raul Gutzmann was quicker than Karel Bash for second place. So is this suggesting now that the gap's going to come down and the fight will build up for second spot? It's still quite a big margin. It's about a second and a half. And the incident between Gabriele Rindoni and Alessandro Tarabini is under investigation. So Tarabini, who is new to the championship this weekend, is being looked at for his part in the incident. The former Renault Clio racer, and the driver that got into the back of Dvoracek confirmed as being Petar Matic, and that's being looked at as well. So 2 incidents to keep the stewards on their toes. This is the view from onboard 33. Danny Cruz sharing with Lamborghini young driver Dan Pell. So Cruz, the 2019 champion. There, 54, is Maxime Oostum, who's raced in the Dutch Supercar Challenge before coming into Super Trofeo last year. The lessons learnt standing him in good stead. And there going through is the car in 5th place out of the Bonaldi Motorsport stable, one of the most experienced of Lamborghini teams. So the first 10 minutes are almost up. Another 10 and the pit window can open. There you can see Oostum with Mattia Michelotto, not that far behind him now, in fact. So that gap's coming down a little bit between them. There's Karel Bash turning up. Sorry, that's Michelotto, forgive me. His teammate, same livery in the VS Racing car, Vincenzo Sospiri's team. And 5th is Michelotto. Karel Bash leading in Pro-Am, 2nd on the road. And there the field accelerates down towards the right-hander of Rettilinho, otherwise known as Cavoni. But number 2, Sebastian Balthazar, 7th place. The British flag on the side is because once more Seb Morris will partner him like he did at the Nürburgring. And Seb Morris, experienced driver, British GT champion, was very, very quick first time out this year. He has raced these cars before a long time ago, but he was good at the Nürburgring and should go even better here as up towards the line comes Sebastian Balthazar. Balthazar running 3rd in the championship. He's got a lot of work to do, and it's a bit of an outside bet. Another one to watch further down, Kevin Rossell giving Jonathan Chicotto a lot of work to do because he's only in 13th place as there. Balthazar comes out of turns 1, 2 and 3 through that little Parco sequence. Whoops, way out wide over the curve there. A change of co-driver after Noah Watt had his accident at Spa, hurt himself a bit, but also hurt his budget rather badly. Number 8 is a class leader. So this is the FFF Racing Team entry out of the Lamborghini Cup that Donovan Privitello starts. And Dad Luciano will take the car over, the father and son effort. Behind, also going rather wide, is Tarabini. And then Axel Bloem trying to join in the party in the Oregon colours. So much happening, battles all the way around the racetrack right now. The FFF Racing Team you're familiar with if you follow World Challenge Europe and America, because of great success that Andrea Caldarelli's team had. In fact, going back a few seasons into the what was Blancpain GT Series Asia as well, now GT World Challenge Asia. We've just had a pit stop from Petar Matic, so that car possibly picked up a bit of damage in the clash with Dvoracek. Now there, 96 turns through, which is Raffaele Giannoni, and he, in turn, is a class leader right now. He is the leading AM. And as you can see, he is hustling on. He's in 20th place overall right now, Raffaele Giannoni, who was a bit late coming into the season this year, but good to have him back on track, and as ever, going very, very well indeed. So Giannoni turns through. Hoylin Ham, his opposition, and then Gerhard Batzinger at the moment in the AM competition. Another of the front runners in AM this year, Ray Calvin, but he's had to miss the second part of the year effectively as the leaders go through them with 5.5 seconds now. Spinelli's advantage over Karel Bash. Now Andrei Lewandowski will take over from Karel Bash, and the next question really being where he will position that car in Pro-Am relative to everybody else. It's going to be Oscar Lee and then Josef Zaruba doing the chasing within that category. On board with Andrea Cola here. Down through Quechia, up towards Tramonto now, and An effort being made there. Look in the background against the GSM Racing entry. That is Kevin Rossell, and under attack from Andrea Cola. Kevin Rossell, another of the Lamborghini young drivers, but his pace just has not quite clicked this year. He's been okay, but never quite as fast as really required. And Jonathan Cecotto is going to have to drag that car up the order in the second stint. And Cola, Pro-Am driver, looks now to try to make a move as they come through Rettilineo down towards the approach to Caro. The road turns right and right and right. It kind of kinks its way all the way around in a big loop, and then opens up down towards the last left, which is the Curva Misano, up towards the end of the lap. 7 minutes until the pit window opens, and I would imagine Rossell will bail early to get Jonathan Cecotto into number 7. Jonathan, the World Final winner with Frederick Schandorf a couple of years back. Over the timing line then they go, they being Rossell and Andrea Cola right there behind him, down towards turn 1 now. These two, Pro versus Pro-Am, Rossell versus Cola. And this is Andrea Cola's view, and you can see now how close he's got to the back of the car of Kevin Rossell. Is a move to be made. Not at turn 3, there isn't, through that Rio curve. Another little fight lower down. You've got Petar Matic there, out of sequence on the road after his pit stop. And are therefore back markers going to become a thing. Libor Dvoracek has also now gone a lap down against Loris Spinelli, who still leads the way. And the margin that Spinelli has over Karol Bash is 5.7 seconds, but in a sense it's really over Van Berlo and Gutzman we need to be looking, where it's just over 7. And Spinelli again carving his way through the traffic. He's had the advantage of being out on track already this morning. Like I said, he won Pro-Am in the North American Championship for Claude Senutol, his co-driver. First time they've had a championship class victory this year, and Spinelli therefore and Claude Senhoretti victorious earlier on in the day. Now Spinelli therefore comes into this with lots of track experience. He knows exactly what's happening, how the car feels, what the road is like, and also we've got a penalty being offered up, and it is for Alessandro Tarabini for contact with the number 21 entry that we had seen spin in the hands of Gabriele Rindoni. So the stewards have had a look and said, yeah, that was a punt, so you get a penalty for it. So Spinelli then using the experience of earlier on in the day, even though things have warmed up a little bit, he has that advantage of knowing what the track was like at 9:30 onwards, and he's the man in charge right now, with Bash second, with Van Berlo in 3rd place, and also we've had a pit stop for Pierre Feligioni. Bad news as far as he is concerned within Lamborghini Cup. Yet more places lost, more time lost, as through the traffic goes Van Berlo. He's getting away from Danny Cruz though, so number 41 then, Glenn Van Berlo pulling away ever so slightly, and it means that the former F4 and Euro Formula Open driver is getting clear. Number 8 there, Donovan Privitello in traffic. Now behind him is Alessandro Tarabini, who will get that penalty and is coming up to have a go. Look, so there you can see the Oregon entry. It's a sort of pseudo-Oregon livery, that. It's got the pink on the bonnet, but it's not quite got the rest of the livery as all the other Oregon cars have. But they're picking up his penalty is Alessandro Tarabini. As I say, he's come from Clio Cup Italia, which is one of the hardest of one-make series. But Tarabini switching to a different type of one-make formula here, and a different driving style required, much more powerful cars. Of course, you've got the aero that works with the big rear wing there, the Oppo branded rear wing. Oppo, one of Lamborghini Squadra Corsa's partners, along with Roger Dubuis, the watchmaker, advertised on the front of the car. Now, the team manager of Petar Matic's car has got to go to the stewards after the race. That is the Bonaldi Motorsport team. So what has Petar Matic done that the officials need to have a word with the team about? Right now, Spinelli leading the way, and the margin is 6.4 seconds. You can see what the last lap times have been like. On lap 8 he was quicker, on lap 9 slower, and on lap 10 quicker than Karol Bash, but I think a lot of that is to do with the traffic right now. So there is Karol Bash in that 2nd place. Again, just a little bit wide, but look at Van Berlo behind him. That gap is worth watching. It is coming down little by little by little. Glenn Van Berlo charging along. Now, you could argue that Karol Bash is driving within himself here, because all he has to do is keep the car in the lead of Pro-Am, not wherever he wants it to be overall. But you would think, for Lewandowski's point of view, that Bash would be flat out to make sure that the gap is as big over the class opposition as possible for that 2nd stint. that therefore makes me think that this is Van Berlo's pace getting better rather than Bash backing off, and therefore it's going to be a proper fight for second place. And somebody in strife is Dvoracek once more. Second drama of the race. Remember, he got tapped into a spin earlier, and now Libor Dvoracek is off the racetrack. Now, why and where and what has caused all of that? Is it low? Has he had a puncture? Has he had more contact? Let's see. Sebastian Balthazar is the man up the inside. Dvoracek goes wide over the curb, and I fear contact is a-coming. Well, almost. If that wasn't contact, it was close, wasn't it? As 55, oh so nearly, got into the back there. So Kiko Galbiati very nearly into the back of him. But maybe there was just a tiny brush, and it could have been also going over the curb that damaged Libor Dvoracek's car. Kiko Galbiati actually struggling to make progress. He's normally a quick driver, Galbiati, but he came into the championship at the World Final event at Valencia a few years ago. He was an absolute standout in the rain. But Galbiati not getting up with Balthazar, and neither of them really going after Michelotto, which does not do Balthazar's championship dream much good either here. He's had a win this year with Noah Watt at Zandvoort. As you look at 88, Hans Fabry. Now, Fabry is the championship leader in Lamborghini Cup, which is actually one of the most closely fought going into the weekend, and he had an off yesterday. Did quite a bit of damage to the car, actually, the former Radical racer. Back on board with Andrea Kohler, who has still not got past Kevin Rossell, in fairness to Kevin, so he's hanging on to the place. Ahead of both of them. In 11th is Sebastian Freimuth, first time out in the championship. He's doing a ripper job, hanging on to position. He's been put in the pro class because he's done quite a bit of racing already, but he is running well. And we understand that number 11 has got a technical problem, and number 11 is Kevin Gilardoni's car, the championship leader. It's down in 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. It is dropping like a stone as the rest of the field come over the line. So Gilardoni, I think, has stopped somewhere, and then the championship is turned upside down. So we'll have a look around the racetrack, but there's a stationary car. Where is number 11? There it is, and that looks like a suspension breakage, doesn't it? Kevin Gilardoni is limping back. It's too low surely to be a puncture. In fact, as the wheel come off, look at him struggling. Kevin Gilardoni, he's lost a wheel, surely. Or the suspension has completely collapsed. So he's dragging the car around, but this is an absolute disaster for the championship. This has now become effectively a two-wheel car because one is in the air and one's barely turning if the wheel is on at all. And it's not. That's the technical problem. The wheels come off. So Kevin Gilardoni is dragging the car back, but he's going to lose place after place after place. The only thing they can do is try and get him back out there and score points in the class, depending on the level of the damage. So the runner-up in last year's championship, to Dean Stoneman, he's not going to get to the pits, he's going to park it. So Kevin Gilardoni is out of the race, and now the championship is completely up in the air, because if Loris Spinelli and Max Wearing take the win, they were effectively 8 points back coming into the race. It will throw things totally up in the air going into race 2, and that is the best part of the day thus far for Max Wearing, to see his championship rivals in strife, coupled with the fact that his car is leading. It takes some of the pressure off, but equally he's still got to win the race and take those 15 points, but a non-score for the 11 Oregon entry is great news. Now, how does a wheel part company 13 laps into the race? Surely that can only be a breakage or bashing it over the curb to cause the breakage. Either way, Gilardoni is out, and his championship hopes with those of Leonardo Pulcini take a serious knock as the pit window is open. The Oregon team will be doing a lot of head scratching now. So drama, high drama. Loris Spinelli fastest lap, Loris Spinelli race leader. That's Carol Bash in second place. Still heading Lamborghini Cup is Donovan Privitello. And that car is a long way clear in its class from Gerard van der Horst. The pit window is open, I may have mentioned, and therefore we've got quite a number of cars having already come in. Hoyle in hand being one of them. Sebastian Freimuth is another. Kevin Rossell is in. Axel Blum is in. Raffaele Giannoni is in. Gabriele Rendoni is in. And that's the Rossell to become Jonathan Cicotto, effectively now in the the GSM car, forgive me, Monegasque team. 27 is newcomer Axel Blum to hand over to regular driver Massimo Siglia. You see the moustache there on the wing mirror. All of the cars carrying the moustache stickers because Lamborghini Squadra Corsa is a big supporter of the Movember movement to raise awareness of our cancer. So all of the cars carrying the moustaches. We haven't quite got to November yet, so facial hair is in limited display amongst the drivers. Right, the pit window open, pit lane emptying, and there Kevin Gellardoni turns off all the electrics in the three-wheeled car. And would have been on the radio, no doubt, to explain to the team, got a wheel missing, chaps, but they want to know why. They're the VS Racing squad just holding the car until the time is up. Got to get this absolute... Oh, and more damage has been done, and 24 limps to the pit lane. That is Oliver Freimuth, who's clearly hit somebody or something. So Oliver Freimuth, massively experienced driver, the 60-something-year-old German driver, but he's been a regular in predominantly Renault and Porsche one-make championships for many, many years before coming to Lamborghini racing. And that car limps on. They'll get to the pit lane, and then out will come the tank tape to try and sort that car out. So Oliver Freimuth is in. Loris Spinelli, in the meantime, presses on regardless. So he's going to have a busy day, like Max Wearing. They're in every race today, all four of them. Admittedly not doing all of it, although Wearing is doing the American races as a soloist, so he's been busy already. And there Loris Spinelli blasts on. 6.7 seconds clear right now of Karol Bash. Van Berlo third overall, second in pro. So Raoul Gutzmann versus Max Wearing is going to be the real battle for class honours when we get to stint 2. We're approaching the halfway mark of the race. As you can see, that clock ticking on down. The race leader is on lap 16 right now. And the pit window remains open, as you can see. Everybody serving the mandatory stop. Seb Morris there, the Brit, gets on board Sebastian Balthazar's Leipert run car. Seb Morris from North Wales, member of the British Racing Drivers Club and an experienced campaigner at modern times of GT cars, with having been a Bentley factory driver. He's also raced Lamborghinis, had a one-off at Silverstone. He raced them at the Nürburgring recently, but initially made a name for himself in Ginetta Junior racing and then into Formula Renault in GP3. Sebastian Balthazar out of the car. Seb Morris ready to go. And get the countdown from the team, and Seb Morris gets away now then, so he has to of course abide by that pit lane speed limit, and if the team have let him go bang on cue, then he will be just the right side of the 100 seconds when he goes out of the pit lane. Breaks the beam, heads down that long pit exit lane that goes round the outside of the S's at the start of the lap, and then you blast back into action. There it is. Wait, accelerate now. And Seb Morris does just that. Thunder's back on track, and let's see what he can do in the second stint of the race then here. The British driver, always worth watching. Good character with Seb Morris, and a quick driver to boot. The race leader, though, is Loris Spinelli. Avoids that little bit of debris in the road. We haven't yet got to the bottom of who contacted with Oliver Freimuth, or what contacted with Oliver Freimuth to give him the damage. But Loris Spinelli cares not, because he's absolutely on his own now. Talk about social distancing. There is nobody around him, 2 metres plus. He leads by 7 seconds from Karol Bash. There in the pit lane is Mattia Michelotto to give way to Michael Durbecker, the Mexican driver. Carter, Formula V racer. He's raced in Italy in Formula Renault and Formula Abarth, and also the Euro Formula Open. So he's been very much a European, if you like, despite being South American. Michael Durbecker gets into that car, and Spinelli now has to work his way through the traffic. Moves himself there, look, up past the VS Racing entry of Kumar Prabhakaran, the Malaysian driver. Motors by pretty easily. Pit window almost at an end. Probably time for one more lap here to be safe for Spinelli, and then he will give way to Max Wearing, and that'll be that for this stint, this race. But Loris will be out in the next one, the North American race, as will Max Weering. Of course, the end of the day, the last race, is the European race, in which you could argue, having done more driving than anybody to that point, Max will be a bit tired, and that could be the most important race of all. He will start that rather than do the second stint, so he's going to have to go from one car straight to another, very limited downtime in order to recover from the American race into the European, assuming he elects to do the American race rather than keep himself fresh. We'll see. There is then Karol Bash, who's yet to stop. So there are quite a few really hanging it out to the end of the window, and Karol Bash, understandably, because he's quicker than Andrzej Lewandowski, is one of them. Karol is another experienced driver in Italian terms, racing not only in Super Trofeo but also in the Italian GT Championship over the years. Now let's catch up with Sebastian Balthazar. Stint done, and Sebastian is in the pits with Marietta. We'll come back to Marietta in due course.
Due to the amount of cars we have here on track, but that's why I tried to gain as much positions as possible today. And let's see what Sepp is doing, my team colleague. And we fight for every point. Tomorrow is the second race, and we just have to be consistent and get good points for the championship. It's still everything open, so let's push for it.
How about your stint? How did the car feel?
Yeah, it was quite tough due to the fact that I have to push a lot at the beginning to make up positions. But at the end, yeah, it's quite warm. Not the easiest day to drive today, but I think Sepp has a good car now and can get a lot of points. I'm not sure where he's at the moment due to the pit stops, but yeah, let's look for a good result, yes.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Marietta. Yeah, apologies for the drama at the start of that, but you got the message. It's been a tough stint for Sebastian Balthazar. We've got more stops cycling through. You see Karol Bash getting out there relaying Andrzej Lewandowski. You see Danny Cruz in for Dan Pell. And we've had Spinelli in also to give way now to Max Weering. There, Andrzej Lewandowski ready to go. Lewandowski is in, and he will blast away in a moment. So the race-leading cars shuffling around in the pit stops. Just had Pierre Feligioni give way to Daniel Waczynski, and past my window has just gone Max Weering. And as he ventures out of the pit lane, I would suggest, also looking at this, that Andrzej Lewandowski is very, very close to the Johan Gran car there. Now, does that suggest that one of them has slipped up on the pit stops? Because number 16 there was never that close before the pit stops themselves. So what has happened, either in the pits or on the in-lap, that Loris Spinelli's big advantage has been eradicated so much by that car of Karol Bash and Andrzej Lewandowski. Does that mean that something happened on track, or does it mean that the VS team were a bit short on the pit stop? Or that Spinelli's team were long on the pit stop. We'll wait and see if anything pans out judicially, but either the Johan Gran car was delayed, as you see Lewandowski run off the road on his outlet there, or something's happened in the pits, either a mistake from one being too short or the other being too long on the pit stop, wasting time. So Max Weering will be the leader of the race still, but the gap is much reduced. Having said that, he might be able to stretch it, and in the background, have a look and see where Dan Pell's car is, number 33. Max Weering there trying to get through the traffic, and he does get through the traffic, able to find a way past Gabriel Rindoni as they turn their way into a yellow flag zone. So what has happened up there? Somebody's off the road. Let's try and work out who in a second. It's Privitello rejoining just ahead of them. So number 8, which was leading its class, Donovan and Luciano Privitello's car has been off the road and back on again. There is Max Weering, who will come through at the end of the lap as the leader. So through goes Max Weering. Loris Spinelli, fastest lap of the race, as he did also, in fact, in the American race. Illustrating just how quick he is. In second place is Lewandowski, 2.9 seconds. Now, Raul Gutzmann is third, 7 seconds back. That might be too tall an order, really, to do anything about the leader. Dan Pell is in 4th place. And then in 5th spot, Milan Tikens, and 60's Michael Dorbacher as Privitello Senior runs out wide there. So Luciano Privitello, having had an off, now losing place after place, and the danger here is that they lose the class lead to Gerard van der Horst. Carving his way through the traffic now that the tyres are up to temperature and he's a bit more confident is Andrei Lewandowski. They will have lost some temperature and some pressure while the car was stationary for a minute in the pit lane, but now he's blasting back into contention, and the key here is to hang on to the Pro-Am lead, which he is doing at the moment ahead of Dimitri Kvasova, who is up to second, and Josef Zaruba, who is third, ahead of Oscar Lee. So the Oscar Lee car that he's taken over from Dan Wells has dropped back a little bit in the class. 17 minutes and change on the clock now. Lewandowski thunders on. Lots of interested faces on the pit wall, looking at the timing screen, looking at the data, seeing how different cars are doing on what's a really busy, really crowded racetrack. To the timing line comes Lewandowski. He's about to break the beam. Whoops, sideways. So that was coming out of the Curva Misano. He corrects the slide and goes through. So Lewandowski still well clear in his class. Now, that last lap was a 38.3. He's being reeled in by that man in 41, Raul Gutzmann. So Gutzmann for second place is a real possibility. Gutzmann at the moment, though, not lapping as quickly as Max Wearing. Through they turn. Nose to tail in the traffic. They're 96. You can see is the AM leader, Raffaele Giannoni, and just up the road ahead of him, number 630, is the guest car, which is about to lose a place here in the hands of Guido Meda, and the Sky Italia MotoGP commentator and Italian Top Gear presenter, having taken the car over from Davide Valsecchi, is in 17th place, but Raffaele Giannoni, one of the most experienced of the AMs, all over the back of him. They go through, and it's a matter of when now, rather than if, Giannoni makes a move. Looks to the inside, heading into turn one. Couldn't do it there. We've got a number of cars being looked at for their pit stops, and one of them is number 16, the car of Lewandowski and Bash. So, as you watch this battle between Guido Meda and Raffaele Giannoni, nose to tail they run for 17th place. Under investigation for the pit stops are number 2, the Balthazar and Morris car, number 8, the Privitellios, 16, Bash and Lewandowski, and also 27, Massimo Siglia and Axel Blom. And what on earth has happened here? Because looks another suspension breakage, I suspect. Is that Freimuth's car? It is 24. Oh no, it's just bodywork against the tyre, but a lot of it. So Oliver Freimuth limps on. I thought it was a suspension breakage because of the amount of smoke that was being generated, but it's the bodywork, I think, just getting caught under the tyre and generating the smoke. So, amazingly, the tyre is still inflated, but the bodywork has gradually peeled itself away. So, Oliver Freimuth, there, look, as the bodywork gets to a position where it just wears away the Pirelli, creates all that smoke, gives the effect of a major failure. But actually, Oliver Freimuth carries on undaunted. Build them tough, these Lamborghinis, you know. So he bounces off the road. That might just have dislodged a bit more bodywork. Lets him carry on in the race. Max Wearing, race leader in the meantime. Well clear. And the margin he's got is 7 seconds over the opposition. Raul Gutzmann up into second at the expense of Lewandowski now. And Lewandowski is also being caught by Dan Pell in his first season in these cars. But there, Max Wearing heads once again up towards the line. Right, penalties are a-coming. The Privitellios get 0.8 of a second at the end of the race. Seb Balthazar gets 0.6 of a second at the end of the race. We'll wait for more news about the Bash and Lewandowski car, and also Massimo Siglia, who is in 14th place, and Axel Blom, because that's not yet appeared on the message line on the timing screen, but it might do in a moment as you see the leader go through on lap 23 now. There goes Seb Morris through the traffic. Seb is in 7th place, and there ahead is Michael Doerbecker in the white VS Racing entry. So the top 6 beckons. plus the time penalty. It's 0.8 of a second for Siglia in the Oregon car and half a second for Karol Bash and Andrei Lewandowski. I'm rounding this to the nearest tenth, really. But they're going to be given a tiny penalty. They're fractions under, so you multiply it by 3, and that's what the penalty is. So the race leaders currently on to lap 23 of the race, and Luciano Privitello is being caught by Gerard van der Horst in number 98, another of the blue and white cars, different team, it's Gerard van der Horst's own squad, and that gap coming down and down and down and down. Go back to previous World Finals, Gerard van der Horst was sharing in Pro-Am with Loris Spinelli. Spinelli, who's this rather peripatetic driver, gets different co-drivers but keeps on winning with them, comes up towards the end of another race with a win, but he's having to watch Max Wearing do the work right now. Max doing a good job, banking points and getting himself very much into contention. Should here overhaul Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Pulcini, barring a problem late race, and we've only got 12 more minutes of said race to go as the rest of the field pours its way over the timing line. Now there is Raul Gutzmann, he's up into second place and he's 9 seconds adrift, losing ground against Max Wearing. So Raul Gutzmann ain't going to catch, I don't believe. What about third? Now, nose to tail. So look in the background, Lewandowski's white car, the red car of Dan Pell, there they are, and Pell up the inside line. So Dan Pell goes for the move. Let's see whether he's done it. Wait to see. Yes, he has, because off the road wide goes Lewandowski. And in the background, Dan Pell has done it. He's gone through. So Dan Pell up into third place. Milan Tikens has gone through into fourth. And so there you can see the white car in the background. Andrei Lewandowski's fallen back. So there, change for third, change for fourth, change for fifth, but a negative change for fifth. Lewandowski falls back. And the way here that Milan Tikens is going in the car started by Maxi Muston, he should be on for another place to be gained here. He's looking quick against Dan Pell, that's for certain. So Milan Tikens presses on, goes to the inside line, a flash of the lights, but I don't really know at whom from Dan Pell, because it's not a back marker ahead of him, it's a genuine fight for position that he's having to think about. So as they accelerate up together, out wide and again over the curb, there goes 54, Milan Tikens, another of the Lamborghini young drivers, and Raul Gutzmann getting himself through the traffic there as he moves himself through on the inside of Marc Rostin, who is fourth in class. Not great news for his co-driver Claude-Yves Gosselin. So through goes Van Berlo. Now this is for third, Peel ahead of Tikens. Dan Pell just ahead. Milan Tikens, the reigning Dutch Mazda MX-5 champion, although he did do some Lamborghini racing last year. And Dan Pell right there ahead of him, but he's in the traffic. So now he's got to get up past Marc Rostin as well. Dan, who was 17 at the start of the season, the youngest driver ever to race in Holland, and is a Fiesta Benelux champion a couple of years back. Also drove in the very popular Mazda MX-5 Cup last year. There are probably more of those cars being raced around the world than anything else these days. Down towards the left-hander here of Quechia they come, and it is still Dan Pell just ahead of Milan Tikens with 10 minutes and counting still to go. This, remember, is for third place overall and third in class, third in pro. Up now through the right of Tramonto they come, back onto the power. Keep an eye on
Kevin Gilardoni. Kevin Gilardoni.
Keep an eye on that battle. Right, let's catch up with what happened to Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Pulcini. Marietta is with them.
Kevin, things already didn't start in the perfect way. You were guys down on fifth row. Then what happened during the race?
But at the beginning I was not so fast, and then I started to push. The car was a good car, good balance, and we know to have a fast car in the second half of the race. So I was pushing as much as I can, but unfortunately I lost a tire and a wheel. So I didn't have a puncture. I completely lost the wheel with the tire. So I tried to come back to the pit with three wheels, but it was not possible. I was destroying the car and it was not safe for the race. So they tell me to stop, and the other things you see on television.
Good luck for the World Finals. And it's not over until it's over.
It's not over until it's over. We have the second race this afternoon, and everything could happen. It's not always bad luck for us.
Thank you very much.
The question remains whether it was a mechanical breakage or whether it was driver-induced. Had Kevin Gilardoni bounced it over the curb once too often, and that weakened something, which then failed. But only post-race when they get the car back will they know necessarily what exactly caused it all. So right now, Max Weering leads the way. Good for him in the championship as he works his way through the back markers. Doesn't have to push on really now. He can bide his time. He's got nearly 10 seconds in hand. You only have to win by 1,000th as long as you win. And it's looking good there for the race-leading Dutch driver then. So Max Weering with the pole position point afforded to him thanks to Loris Spinelli's effort. You see why it pays to have a good co-driver in this, don't you? He's clear up front. Gutzman is second. Dan Pell running third. Tikens fourth. Lewandowski fifth. Still clear in Pro-Am. In Am, it's Raffaele Giannone. And now we've had the change of lead in Lamborghini Cup. Gerard van der Horst is ahead of Luciano Privitello. 7.5 minutes on the clock. Over the timing line now goes Max Weering. Puts another lap in the book. And off the road there is Arkin Arka now. The man behind Attempto Racing is off the road. I would suggest has hit the barrier, and I would also suggest if that car ain't moving, given how little runoff area there is there, we might be seeing an extra car on track with lights atop it. We'll see what happens. We also need to know why it's got there. But Arkin Arka, an occasional racer, because he's very busy running his team, tries to get the car fired up again and gets it out of the way if he can. We'll keep an eye on whether that has succeeded. Here is 33, Dan Pell, still trying to keep Milan Tikens at bay. There is the car in question, stranded on the grass on the inside of the road. So just caught a glimpse, though, as they went onto that back straight down towards Quechia of the car stranded. There once more is Milan Tikens, and you can see just how close he is to Dan Pell. So they raced against each other in Mazdas last year, now in Lamborghinis. As I say, this big Dutch influx into the championship. There's another of the Flying Dutchmen. Max Weering leads the way, 6 minutes on the clock. And a big spin for the leader. Max Weering throws away his lead, coming up towards the penultimate curve on the lap, and it's a puncher. Max Weering, the leader, has got a puncher. Just as you'd heard Kevin Gilardoni say it's not over till it's over, the race leader is in strife, and it's happened at least at the end of the lap for him. So Max Weering gets going, comes into the pit lane, but the tyre goes pop, and around goes Max Weering. So now he's going to lose the lead. They're going to have to put a new tyre on that car. Gutzman leads, Pell goes second, and it's only 4 tenths between them. Tikens goes third, and down the pit road comes number 61, Max Weering. They've got to get him back out and score points. They have to put that tyre on. They do so. He's got 5 minutes of the race to go. The winner's gone, second has gone. But at least if they stay in the top 10, there are some points on offer. And down the pit road now goes Max Weering, and all of a sudden the Oregon team spirits will rise, because a punctured tyre for Max Weering, let's see, goes over the curb, and there you can see it's gone down, and as he turns in, just deflates. So was it purely running over that previous curb? I don't think he'd gone behind it. Didn't look as though he'd cut the tyre down there, but gets going again. Knows that he's got a problem, and into the pit lane he comes. So all of a sudden this race is a very different type of race, isn't it? Because the order is jumbled once again, and so Gutzman, Pell and Tikens fight over the race lead, but that will have cost them so much time, the Johan Krahn Motorsport squad, because of the length of the pit lane here. We'll have to see in a moment where that's going to drop down to, but a long way down is the short answer. 12th back on track. So this now is the three-way battle for the lead. Raul Gutzman was never going to catch, but suddenly that car is leading, and they haven't had a win all season, so this could be the race of races in a way for Raul Gutzman and Glenn Van Berlo, but behind Dan Pell and Danny Krus's car, with Dan Pell at the wheel of it, and then Milan Tikens for Maxime Houston. He's there in third as they come over the timing line now. Past the pits once more. What have we got left in the race? 4 minutes. The car, by the way, of Arkin Arka is circulating again, I think, so it's less of an issue, as now Dan Pell lines up to have a go. He's up the curb. He's got a tight line coming up towards turn 4. He's going to do it. Dan Pell for the race lead, and he's gone by. Good move. The Spa race winner has done it in a spin. Gutzman loses it. He gets collected by the traffic. Gutzman goes around, and he's got a tyre that's deflating. Look at the right rear. His tyre has gone. Gutzman's got a puncture now. So Raul Gutzman lost the lead, and the tyre has gone. More drama, late race. Amazing this, the way that in the last few minutes the whole complexion has changed. Now, was it contact that caused the tyre to go down? No, I don't think so. There's the contact there, yes, possibly in that little punt, but the lead had changed anyway, so it certainly wasn't a finger pointed at the effort of this man, Dan Pell. Milan Tikans possibly might have a finger wag, because if it was him on the inside, but right now Dan Pell leads the pack, and I'm sure that the squad will have been on the radio now at the Bonaldi team saying, just keep off the curbs. We're getting punctures, keep off the curbs. So Dan Pell blasts on. Of course, the driver's instinct is to use as much of the road as possible, and if that includes curb that you can get away with, they will. But right now they need to try and keep the car, I would have thought, for self-preservation purposes, really, within the white lines. Don't overdo it, don't risk anything. Now Max Weering is back on track, and after his spin, trying to work his way back through the Pro-Am traffic, but we need to see where he is in the class. He's not third, he's not fourth, and he's not fifth, and he's not in the top 6 even for points right now. 7th, 8th, I reckon he's going to be. And with only another lap to run at the end of this. Another car being hoiked out of the way there in the background. We've lost Oliver Freimuth into the pit lane. We've also had Arkin Arka limped to the pit road. So for quite a few of them, high dramas. And Dan Pell, looking for win number 2 of the year, comes through the traffic. There he is, the Bonaldi Motorsport car, a bit delayed. Dan Pell gets up the curb, but actually here is getting away from Milan Tikans, and Tikans is under investigation for the contact against Raul Gutzmann. So it was those two that touched. It wasn't about marker, it was the green car of Tikans, and so it's being looked at by the race officials. As here, Dan Pell pulls to the inside line, should be able to get through on the inside of Han Hoi Lin, which he is. Job is done. So Dan Pell, a lap to run at the end of this, but again, as I say, high drama with the deflating tyres that people have had, and Dan Pell just needs to hang on in there now. He's gapped Milan Tikans, who was delayed in the contact by 1.5 seconds, but his Tikans coming back at him onto the last lap. Through goes Dan Pell, he'll break the beam, and Milan Tikans is closer by 1.2 seconds, but it's probably too much to ask on the last lap. Hoi Lin Han is also trying to get up now past the car of guest driver Guido Meda as they dive down in towards turn 1. And they're almost side by side in the background, but Dan Pell leads the way. 1.2 seconds the margin. Half a lap remains now. Onto that back straight, down towards Quechia goes the leader. And it's been a really impressive drive so far, hasn't it, from Dan Pell, whereas the slightly aggressive Milan Tikans might have a case to answer post-race. He's running second at the moment. And this really does make the championship interesting, because although Gilardoni and Pulcini don't score, 8th is not great at all for Weering in his championship hopes. So we'll see what this does to the standings post-race, as right now it is Dan Pell with only a couple of corners to go that leads the way here at Misano in another really lively race of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. Milan Tikans hustling on, but the gap is coming down. It's down to 0.9 of a second, but I think Milan Tikans there is just going to run out of time. In a moment, they will come up towards the line. The checkered flag awaits, and it's going to be a second victory of the season that's really come out of nowhere for teenager Dan Pell and the 2019 champion Danny Cruz. The car up towards the line. Dan Pell, Danny Cruz win the penultimate round of Super Trofeo Europe from Milan Tikans and Maxime Usten. Third to win Pro-Am will be Andre Lewandowski and Karol Bash. 4th overall, 3rd in Pro, Seb Morris and Sebastian Balthazar. 5th, Kiko Galbiati. 6th overall, Jonathan Cicotto and Kevin Rossell. 7th, Josef Zaruba and Bronek Formanek. 8th, Sebastian Freimuth, great debut. 9th is going to be Max Weering, and a 10-second penalty at the end of the race to Milan Tikans. So they are, I still think, going to keep second place, actually, in the class. They're going to lose just second overall to Lewandowski and Bash, but I think they're going to hang on to second in class ahead of Seb Morris. But we'll confirm that. So the rest come pouring over the line. In Pro-Am, Lewandowski and Bash the winners from Zaruba and Formanek, and third, Gvatsova and Andrea Kola. in Am. Raffaele Giannoni takes the win. Is that his first of the season? No, it's not. Silly question. It's his fourth of the season, forgive me. Second in Am, Hoylin Ham. Third, Gabriele Rindoni. And the Lamborghini Cup goes the way of Gerard van der Horst for a third win ahead of the Privitellios and Hans Fabry. So, drama right at the end of our first Super Trofeo Europe race. And more to come, that's for sure, in the championship showdown. With Hans Fabry third in the Lamborghini Cup. Get the abacus out in a moment and see what that does. And in the Am competition, fourth for Claude-Yves Gosselin. Now let's just attend to him first of all. He has outscored Vatzinger, didn't outscore Gabriele Rindoni, but 8 points for Gosselin versus 10 points for Rindoni. Means that, yes, it is not possible for Rindoni to win it, not possible for Vatzinger to win it. So, yes, Claude-Yves Gosselin is champion in Am. That's one crown at least. So, it is now Gosselin who is the champion from the Am category. Down the pit lane comes a delighted Dan Pell. Now, with Daniel Waszinski being quite a long way down with Pierre Feligioni in Lamborghini Cup, they were fifth. Hans Fabry got third in the class. Dan Pell celebrates with his team. I'm just trying to do some crude maths here for the situation in the Lamborghini Cup. I reckon that's still up for grabs, but it's going to be a tough one for Feligioni and Waszinski to do. So they're delighted drivers clambering out of cars, and Dan Pell's second victory of the season. As I say, a bit of a surprising one in a way, coming out of nowhere, but he'll take it. And so will Danny Cruz, Danny the 2019 champion. Getting caught in the scrum somewhat there is Marietta, the Bonaldi squad, and delighted drivers. All celebrating. It's a class win for VS in, of course, the Pro-Am. But for Bonaldi, it's a 1-2, isn't it? Despite the Dutch drivers dominating, so's the Italian team. And in the thick of all of the celebrations is Marietta.
Give him a moment, give him a moment.
Give him a moment, says Marietta, because drivers need to take off crash helmets. So they're there, they're ready, but we'll just wait one moment for Dan Pell to take off his crash helmet. So, yeah, so a 1-2 for the Bonaldi team outright. Understandably, very, very happy. And Milan Tikens, despite the penalty, still takes second place. So a 10.9 second advantage is because of the penalty given to Tikens in second place. Right, Marietta, are they ready for you now?
So a lot of drama at the end of the race, but guys, today luck was on your side.
Yeah, we needed that. The last few rounds we were so unlucky every time, and also again in qualifying this weekend. Yeah, the car was great. Dan did an amazing job. He closed the gap on his own on Guzman, and he passed him on his own, and yeah, from there we just had to manage it. He did a perfect job.
Dan, what was going through your mind during the last lap?
Everything was falling out in front of me. The guys delivered with just mega car, which made the job a lot easier. Danny had a good start, and just in front of me I saw a lot of things go wrong. I used opportunities where I could, no big risks, and extremely happy with the result.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Great victory.
Great race for the Bonaldi team as well. As I say, that 1-2 finish. Maxi Muston and Milan Tikens coming home second, despite Tikens' involvement with the Raul Gutzman incident, and Gutzman in the end classified in 27th place. Could have been a whole different story, couldn't it? But there's the winning car. As I say, we have a champion in Pro-Am, Andrei Lewandowski. He did that effectively pre-race, and yet another victory rather secures that for Andrei Lewandowski. That makes that the sixth win of the season for him and Karol Bash. But they were split apart on one occasion, and that's why they have different point scores. Karol Bash, I think, had to miss a round, as also Jonathan Cicotto has done for an Italian GT event, for example. So, second victory of the season for Dan Pell and Danny Cruz. The sixth win of the year for Andrei Lewandowski and Karol Bash. 4th win for Raffaele Giannoni. Right, let's hear from our Pro-Am victors, and in the case of Andrei Lewandowski, Marietta, a champion.
Andrea, I think congratulations are in order.
Yes, thank you very much. Today the race is the almost last of the whole year, and we showed that we were really fast. Yes, and I'm very happy, you know, because we have a lot of problems with the cars. Now it's much better, not perfect, but we are happy. And the fair for the general is amazing for me.
Carol, how do you feel, not clinching the title, but being part of what he has been able to achieve today?
Yeah, we did very well the start. Then I pulled away with Loris, so we leave a big gap to the third guard driver. Anyway, the race was on our plan. Yeah, we are on the podium in general with Pro-Am, so it's fantastic race for us.
Good luck with the World Finals.
Thank you.
And of course, there is still one more European race to come at the end of the day. So we've got that to look forward to. So we'll have a look at their prospects a little bit later on in the day into race 2. Still, I think most people frantically looking at the moment at points computations. It is a point for pole for Gilardoni and Pulcini going into the next race. So they're on 108. Max Weering and Loris Spinelli had 100 because of the point for pole, and then were classified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in class. I'll go back to my calculator in a moment as we rejoin in the pits. Marietta.
Congratulations on your Lamborghini Cup win today.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it was very hard for me today, but I did not sleep very well. So in this way, it took a lot of energy, but it went well. Very happy.
What was going through your mind when you realized the category victory was possible for you today?
I was at that moment not thinking about, because Massimo told me on the radio that I was in P1 at a certain moment. So I thought I finished the race as good as possible, and it went well.
We have seen you on the grid of this championship many times. What does it mean for you to be part of the Lamborghini World Finals?
I like this week very much. It's also a week of pleasure with the team. A lot of laughter. Nice time with all the members.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your victory.
Thank you.
Very well deserved.
So Gerard van der Horst, the Lamborghini Cup winner. I'll be quite happy to be proved wrong on this, maths never being my strong point, but I reckon 4 points between Gilardoni and Pulcini versus Max Weering with a race to go. They're still ahead, but only by 4 points. Confirmation of the results. They cross the line. Dan Pell and Danny Cruz, the winners from Milan Tikens and Maxime Ouston, with Karol Bash and Andrei Lewandowski, 3rd winning Pro-Am. 4th, Sebastian Balthazar and Seb Morris, ahead of Kiko Galbiati, Jonathan Chicotto and Kevin Rossell, 6th in the end. The other class winners, 15th, you'll find the AM winner, Raffaele Giannoni. 20th, you've just seen him, Gerard van der Horst, who won Lamborghini Cup. And lots of them in strife. We lost Oliver Freimuth, the Gilardoni and Pulcini car, and Libor Dvoracek, a spin for Achim Arca. A long way back, delayed, Daniel Waszinski and Pierre Feligioni as well. And a number of the teams like AKF and Oregon and the Michenek Motorsport team with work to do before race 2 at the end of the afternoon. So behind the podium, gather drivers. There's a rare sight, because on the left as you look is Raffaele Giannoni without his sunglasses. Normally, you can bet your house on the fact that Raffaele will have his shades on, but not here. However, Andrei Lewandowski is busy explaining his race, and we'll get the drivers called forward in a moment or two, with the format that we had in the American Championship round a little bit earlier on in the day being that we started with Lamborghini Cup, but we'll see whether it's the same and did the classes in reverse this time around. Raffaele Giannoni pointing at his badges, looking after his team and his sponsors. But it's great that the World Final weekend is back, and as I say, after having to miss last year, even though the championships took place, there was just no chance to have people travelling in the way that we want. It's a great shame that the Asian and the Middle East championships have had to take another back seat, but we look forward to them kick-starting next year, as it does seem that at a greater pace now the world is opening up once more. And then the Michenek Motorsport engineers await. And that looks like a football match, doesn't it? With so many people behind the podium ready to be called forward. But out come the top three overall, namely Karol Bash and Andrzej Lewandowski. They take third place overall and a class win. Then for second, the first contingent of the Dutch, Milan Tikens and Maxime Oesten, step forward. And for the Bonaldi team, second place for the Bonaldi team, it is a win, because for the second time this year, onto the top step of the podium come Danny Cruz and Dan Pell in his first year of Lamborghini Super Trofeo racing. And Dan has done a very good job, getting better and better and better all the time, more and more experienced, faster and faster, and a very proud family can cheer on our race winners of Dan Pell and Danny Cruz.
Caloroso applauso al podio e cominciamo con i trofei. È il momento di consegnare il trofeo.
So the national anthem played for the winning team, for Bonaldi, and the trophies are presented. Federica Zenegi hands over the trophies, the European Series coordinator. And Federica presents there to Maxime Oesten, to Milan Tikens, the silver trophies. And then for the race winners, trophies held aloft, and the winners, Dan Pell and Danny Cruz. The Pirelli trophy presented too, and our overall top three then on the podium, ready to celebrate. Andrzej Lewandowski crowding in the back. He and Karol Bash then the Pro-Am winners, and even though they've got another race to go, champagne awaits, but they're being remarkably sensible about this. If they haven't got spare overalls, they do not want to get soaked and have to do another race later on in champagne soaked and smelling and damp overalls, so they swerve that. But great drive by Dan Pell to take the win. Good first stint by Danny Cruz. This was the move that set him up. Now, was the tyre going down at that stage for Gutzman, or was it purely the contact from Tikens? Either way, this was the move. Into the lead went Dan Pell. And Dan Pell victorious, celebrating on that in-lap and celebrating with the Bonaldi Motorsport team for the second time this year. So now we go to Pro-Am, where they're already on the podium. Dmytra Vatseva and Andrea Kola are joined by Bronek Fomenek and Józef Zaruba. And then for the top step of the podium, sixth win of the year for Andrzej Lewandowski, the new champion, and Karol Bash. Delighted drivers both make their way